Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming to watch this channel. This is Wildflowers Within on YouTube. I am Alejandra, your host, and just really excited to be back and having an opportunity and a space to make this video about the Israel and Palestine conflict that is ongoing, and there's a need, at least within my soul, to contribute to the conversation, to contribute energy and love and peace in my own unique, analytical, heartfelt way. So I hope you enjoy it. This is part 2 of a video, one way to bring peace. Part 1, I ended with comedy because I thought that would, lighten up the mood a little bit. I'm not going to end with comedy in this one, just FYI, but I hope you enjoy it in any case. Today, the day that I'm making this video, it is Good Friday. And, this is just a very energetically potent day for so many people. And last night was, they call it Maundy Thursday. And I went to hear a discussion about the Israel-Palestinian conflict. I actually didn't know what the discussion was going to be about. I just heard it's at Occidental College. Some group is putting it together, and my dad invited me. He said, "Mija, do you want to go?" Because he knows, I care deeply about this issue, that I've been to the region, and that I also made that first video, one way to bring peace. So I ended up going to this, to Occidental College, and I have to tell you something. When we begin to talk about this, one really good form of study that you can immediately do is check in with your body and see how you feel. I was completely activated. I'm telling you, like every single button that was like, okay, here's the trigger point, and then here's another one, and here's another one, and here's another one. It was like they were primed and ready to be hit. And I noticed, even as I sat down, there was a gentleman already there in the classroom, and there was another student, a younger woman. And in my head, I was immediately thinking about this man and judging. What side are you on? Me, who's literally trying to contribute a voice of peace to this conversation. This is what is going on in my internal system. So I just want to be really open and authentic about that, because it's a way for myself to be seen, like I know thyself, right? Know and understand, if this is happening to me, chances are it's probably happening to everyone in the room, which is why it feels so tense. And the presentation started a little bit late, and a professor gets up and he introduced another professor who is, so it was put on by a professor from UCLA. I thought it was going to be a student panel, or maybe, a Palestinian representative and an Israeli representative, or, some sort of debate going back and forth. I had no idea what to expect. And the professor who spoke and gave this presentation, he was from UCLA and is a professor of Jewish studies over there. His name is David Myers. He also writes for the Los Angeles Times. He's written all these books. And when he told us his topic, I got to tell you, part of me was like, what? This is crazy. He wanted to show us the perspective and sort of the formation of the Jewish state through a political arena and mentality, but also a spiritual, or I guess a biblical one. And he wanted 3 different ways that you could view what took place within the Jewish peoples, of them desiring to have a location in the world that they could call their own. And it was fascinating. He took us through not the etymology of the word Zion, but kind of the use of it. And it reminded me of when we hear about words in the Bible that were, they're translated, right? These are ancient texts, translated from ancient Greek and then to Latin, and then, God knows how many other different languages. And by the time we are at a space where we're reading the text, we learn that the original intention or the meaning has somehow been corrupted. Eckhart Tolle did a really good job of this in his book, A New Earth, when he talked about the word sin, and how the word sin originally meant to miss the mark. It wasn't about doing something bad. It was about, here's the target, and I erred. I went off course in some way, shape, or form. And how these different words can be hijacked and sort of used as propaganda as they continue to evolve, to the point where, without knowing the history behind it, we're sort of fed a narrative and then we just believe it, or we don't have any inquiry around it. So he talked about, God, I wish I could have taken a recording or notes, but here's what I'll tell you I took away from the whole discussion. What I loved about his talk, and it kind of plays also into the astrology that's taking place right now. It's currently the eclipse portal, and we are in the Libra Aries axis, meaning that the solar eclipse and the lunar eclipse that are taking place, they're crossing these two axis points right now. With Libra and the scales and this symbolism of justice, versus Aries, which is a very singular form of identity and a selfishness, but not in a good or bad way, just thinking of yourself and only yourself. And then the opposite would be, who am I in relation to the fact that there are other people walking this world with me? It's not just me in the universe. What I love, and a way to bring peace to the region, at least what I saw, is to really open up and have nuance, to allow discussions to come in. Most people, and especially on social media, especially if you tune in and you watch the news, or you see a politician taking the mic, there's this black and white stance of, I am either pro-Palestine or I am either pro-Israel. I cannot be both at the same time. I cannot hold space, because if I do, I become a traitor to the other. That's where these shadows of Libra and Aries come into play. And eclipses, which are massive energetic fields, where energy just comes into the cosmos, and we as human beings get to work with that energy, learn how to master it. So I've been taking these clues, these big cosmic gems that have been coming my way, and hearing this discussion. How can we hold space in our heart, knowing that what happened on October 7th, this massacre of, I think it was 1,300 Israelis by Hamas, you cannot justify it. You cannot justify this kind of brutality. It doesn't matter. You can talk about colonialism or, years of conflict. It doesn't justify the horrific violence that occurred to a people that have already been traumatized in, we all know, 50 million different ways. And then to see the response. That's when you see the shadow of Libra and you just see it, well then no. The decimation of Gaza, the rubble, the God knows how many people at this point have been killed. You cannot justify it either. Why is there no space to hold these complexities and nuances that would open up and be very beneficial for a discussion to figure out how we can move forward collectively, individually, interdependently? In my first video, One Way to Bring Peace, and I was talking about that internal war within us, I really do mean it's up to us, it's incumbent upon us to do that work. I noticed that as I was being taught history, as I was being taught language and nationalism and division between, the first prime minister of Israel and his successor, that they were absolute rivals, and to see it through this historical lens really allowed me to put more puzzle pieces and bring them together to the picture so I could see something in a more clear perspective. I don't know how we're going to bring peace to this region. One of the students raised their hand at the end of the discussion, and they asked a question. They said, when you've got Palestinian families decimated like this, the youth, the uprising, the generational rage that is perpetuated by this, are we really going to be surprised when it surfaces again? And what is that going to look like? That was a question. These are very valid questions. It's also valid to see that a lot of Palestinians are not pro-Hamas. How many Palestinians are actually angry that such a small group on a messianic crusade caused a repercussion that decimated their families, that were just innocent bystanders in all of it? Where's that nuance? Can we allow that into the conversation? Can we allow the nuance of Israelis that are against the occupation? Can we allow the nuance that I can be absolutely against the occupation? I can be against a system that is akin to the apartheid in South Africa. But I also can recognize that I believe Jewish people can have a state of their own, can have a country they call their own. Can I be allowed to hold that within me? Can I be allowed to condemn the massacre? Can I be allowed to pray for the Israeli hostages that are still being held captive and treated, God knows how they are being treated right now, and still call for an end to this bombing campaign in Gaza? Can we be passionately complex, nuanced individuals? If there's like a Libra Aries axis, power dynamic going on, it is this. And what's interesting, or maybe not so surprising, I should say, is that Mars and Venus sit as the rulers of these two signs. That war, but also passion and courage and love, but also people-pleasing and possibly losing one's self in the name of love, a distorted love, or a distorted crusade. These are all shadows taking place right now in our collective. So I'm very careful about the messages that I want to bring to this channel. You can go on some YouTube channels and you're like, I'm not feeling this energy. What at the end of the day, what are they putting out there in the world? And I take umbrage with a lot of people that are passionately talking about supporting Palestinians, but I can feel their energy where I'm like, you just don't seem like you're all encompassing in love right now. I don't know how to say it, but the fact that subconsciously, and I did it last night, so I know it's in me. I'm not saying I don't have it in me. I'm saying I do. And I want to collapse this. I want to deactivate this inside me. I don't want to walk in and say subconsciously, what side are you on? And get ready to go to battle with an opinion. It was the best medicine last night to go and hear this professor. It was so good for me. It was so good for me. It also reminded me of when you go into academia, it's like, show me the history. Let me learn some more, and please show me both sides. Don't just show me one. He did talk about the establishment of the Jewish state in 1948 as, this epic and heroic victory for the Israeli people, that there was this sense of justice that had finally occurred. And at that exact same time, for the Palestinian people, this word, the Nakba, emerged. This tragedy. Nakba means, I'm blanking, I'll put it right here. This is what Nakba means because I forgot it right now. It can mean one thing, a different thing to many people. And this is what I hope we can allow as human beings. I really, really do. It's Good Friday. It's a time to really contemplate violence for many people. What divides us? So that's what I have for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If it lands, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. I'll hold space for that. So thank you so much. I hope you are having a wonderful eclipse portal, Libra Aries access season, wherever that sits in your chart. And just know I'm sending you lots and lots of love. May peace reign on earth. Ciao.